All right. So um, there's more about recruiting methods that we pulled from Organizing Methods in the Steel Industry, which is a book by William Z. Foster back during the big union movements in the early 1900s. This was a really important manual that was used by a lot of unions at the time. And interestingly, in modern efforts, the Amazon unions were apparently inspired in part by this reading. So it's an interesting short book on how to organize. Again, it's organizing in a workplace, which is a little bit different from community organizing. But, we could still take a lot from it. So there's, individual recruitment, for example, where you might target individual people and ask them to join, the Green Party or, join an action, not that, do your ladder thing. But you focus on one person, and then, like we were saying, ask that person to invite their friends and neighbors, and you end up pulling in a lot of people that way over time, especially if the people that you're targeting are in allied organizations or people that are already interested in the issues that you're working on. So you can really build up a movement pretty quickly that way of folks who are interested in the issue and that already have some level of trust with each other.
Yeah, the easiest campaign that I know of to grow your organization is a build a friend campaign or bring a friend campaign, right?
Yep.
If everyone brings one person, we doubled our size.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a low bar ask. But it's something that, the Illinois Green Party has had multiple membership drives where the core thing that we pushed was for our existing members to bring one new person into the organization.
Yeah, so that's one tactic. There's also an open recruitment tactic, which is maybe a little bit less successful, but it depends on the situation. You can have kind of public events or public meetings and kind of advertise widely. And when new folks come in, you're prepared right there. You say, are you not a member yet? Okay, here's the information on how to become a member. Here's the information on how to get involved. And, that can take different forms. It could be that you have a special onboarding session before the meeting even takes place, or it could be that maybe during a more, kind of hate to use the term, but a more boring aspect of the business meeting, right? Not everyone loves Robert's rules and all, right? Maybe have interesting speakers or something at first. And then when you get to the business meeting, you pull the new members aside and say, hey, let me catch you up on the organization. Here's how things work. Here's our organizational structure. Here's how you can become a member. Are you ready to become a member today? I think pretty much anytime you hold any sort of big event or meeting or something, you should be at least prepared to do this, even if that's not necessarily your goal with every meeting. And I know it works because we've had in Pennsylvania, the Green Party of Pennsylvania has had its statewide, delegates meeting of the people that, make up the state committee, the decision makers of the Green Party of Pennsylvania. We've had that statewide meeting in Pittsburgh, for example, and we've advertised it to the public, and we've had new people come to those meetings to find out what is the Green Party about. And some of those people have joined and are still members today after coming, years ago. So, this can work. It's a thing to keep in mind, at least. And kind of related to that is mass agitation. In order to get people to know about your meeting, to go to it, and to be recruited, they have to know about you. So you want to put slogans out there to popularize demands of your movement, to get your name out there in the name of your organization. Use various printed materials, flyers and pamphlets and whatnot. There's radio, there's TV, maybe even community broadcast TV at this point. But a lot of it's online now, YouTubes and podcasts, things like that. Try to get on podcast as a guest or whatever and get your message out there. And you can purposely have these big mass meetings that get a lot of attention. And I like this quote that one good mass meeting is better than a dozen indifferent ones. I think a lot of folks feel like, you're supposed to have a monthly meeting or whatever, right? Like that's just how organizations work. You have a monthly meeting. And you should never feel like you have to go through the motion like that, right? It's way better, instead of meeting weekly or monthly or like that, if you have like quarterly meetings, but they are awesome meetings where you run like an education session, and there's guest speakers, and there's like a workshop where people learn things and all. Doing that correctly is way better than having a bunch of boring meetings. So you might want to put all your effort in having really cool mass meetings where people can learn stuff and be involved in workshops and whatnot, which is related to the educational programming, the last bullet there.
Yeah,
these are all
we've touched on it a lot, in a lot of these slides, but it's, I want to explicitly repeat again, you want as many access points as possible. Right. So what I often tell Greens looking to start a local, for the minimum, right, that they should be doing is, you have your monthly business meeting, right? To is the boring side of things, right? But it shouldn't be, right? It should be the strategic side of things, but that's not for everybody, right? So you should always have your business meeting. You should always have a social event of some kind. And then you should always have an educational event. And then, if possible, try to have an action, a rally, a protest of, some kind of thing where it's oriented more towards, that kind of action, the actions that we talk about in movements. And if you do that, you've got such a multiplicity of ways that people can get involved, right? The activist that loves to have the sign and chant gets to go to your action. The people who are interested in learning about a subject can go to the education one. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of social things to build the relationships internally, right, within your organization. And I've got to say, in my experience, some of the best ideas come in these unstructured social times. Where you can have that conversation of, hey, what about? That frankly, hey, what about isn't usually meant for a membership meeting. It's not ready, right? If it's just a nebulous idea, you're going to spend hours talking in circles and likely come away with no real, with no real action items, right? But when you're all hanging out at the local park, when you're all hanging out at a local eatery, right? A lot of Green parties that I know have done social events in bars, right? That's much more of a place where these ideas that are outside the box can come out, and then they can get fleshed out later, right? I will say one thing: I highly recommend not using a bar. It excludes a lot of people who don't drink or don't like bar culture. Bars generally aren't the best places for conversations, and again, in my experience, the combination of alcohol, politics, and strangers is not necessarily the best environment. That said, if you've got the right location, it might work for you on the local level. But having that multiple access points is absolutely key. The Green Party has probably lost thousands and thousands and thousands of activists because they showed up to a boring business meeting. No one told them how to really get involved. No one, got them onboarded, and they never came back again. Right? So we've got to make sure that we're providing ways that people can get involved that are of interest to them. The person that, and some people will come to all four. Garrett and I will be at all four meetings, right? And some people will come to all four meetings, and some people will only come to some, right? But it's the access point that gets them involved, and then you can start on the ladders of engagement and all the other kind of methods that